Welcome back, everyone, to Fanciest Man of Cornwood's YouTube channel. Today we are going to do another deck tech. This time we're going over Greasefang, Okiba boss. This is a 3 CMC commander back from New Capenna, Streets of New Capenna. So for 1, a white and a black, we're going to get a legendary rat pilot creature. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. So we're going to dive into our strategy overview and look at how we're going to use Greasefang to power out some pretty ridiculous vehicles. Alright, so obviously with Greasefang we want to be getting some vehicles in our graveyard, and that's going to be one of the main pushes of the deck, is to find those cards, get them into the graveyard, get some pretty crazy power on the board, and then start swinging away at our opponents and getting value out of that. Greasefang is a commander that when she came out, I think there were some, pretty bomby vehicles. There was Parhelion that was already printed back in War of the Spark, and there were some others that were fairly powerful, but with Fallout and some of the other sets that we've gotten in the last few years, year and a half or so, Greasefang has really come onto the scene with some power, and you can pretty much get 10 to 12 powers worth of creatures out on turn 3 or 4, which, some commander decks can do that already. Greasefang is kind of growing into that with all these new printings. So let's look at some of the vehicles that we're going to be using in our deck. You saw the Parhelion 2, which is a 5/5 flying first strike vigilance that also makes angels whenever you attack. Those angels have flying and vigilance and are 4/4 flyers, so they really can swing a game if you're able to get a few of those triggers off and people don't have blockers out. We've got multiple vehicles from Fallout, and some of the hardest hitting ETB effects that we have in the deck, which we'll see that we're going to use to blink our creatures over and over and get value from. You've got Reaver Titan that damages each opponent for 5 when it comes in, and is a huge 10/10 creature with some protection. You've got Night Paladin that will also do some damage when it comes in, and is a 6/6 trampler. Nautiloid Chip lets us hate on graveyards a little bit and start clearing out our opponent's graveyards, especially if we can mill and things like that. Or not mill, if we can use that graveyard hate to get value, then we're even more excited about bringing out Nautiloid Ship. So you've got the Thunderhawk Gunship, another way, along with the Pride Wind, to just make more creatures, make more sacrifice pieces, because we do have a sacrifice theme that we're going to go with, and that is going to help us keep our vehicles in the graveyard and keep getting this value out of those. So let's move on. Next category I've got here is graveyard fillers. This deck has a lot of ways to get those vehicles into the graveyard. We have a few that are one-time effects like Entomb. Entomb's just a great value for that effect. You can do it at the end of a turn to try and avoid some graveyard hate. But we also have Auric Lore Mage and Scourge Familiar, cards that are reusable, either as discard outlets if we already have them in our hand, the vehicles that we want to get into our graveyard, or if we just need to go and get them from our deck. Lore Mage will let us do that repeatedly. So a lot of value there, a lot of ways to fill that graveyard and start getting to the vehicles that we want to bring out. Next we've got our sack outlets. Some of these are geared toward really just anything we have lying around, especially if we're making tokens with some of our vehicles that have those nice ETB or attack triggers. Then we can use those tokens with Angelic Purge to just take out any other permanent that's on the board. We can use them with Hidden Stockpile to just get scries and value and keep getting card selection. And then we also have Morbid Curiosity and other ways to just draw cards. Deadly Dispute, we've got a couple of different versions of that in the deck, and we've got Fane the Broker here, who's one of the featured outlets. Just because he's so versatile, we can use him to put counters on other creatures if we want to get our vehicles back into the graveyard that way, or we can use him to make some 2/1 flyers and also untap him and use him multiple times in a turn if we would like to. So Oswald Fiddlebender is really fun because he's going to allow us to not only keep those vehicles going back to the graveyard, where Greasefang can go and grab them and use them again, but he also just lets us keep going one higher on the CMC and actually upgrading the things that are on our battlefield as we're getting that value. So Oswald is really kind of the key to maximizing our engine, and he can do it. Let's see, Ruthless Technomancer, I did want to point out is if you have the mana, one of the swingingest ways to sack those vehicles because of their high CMCs generally, he's going to make you a lot of treasure, and then you can use that treasure to get even more value from him. Alright, so here's the way that we are going to blink, either to keep a vehicle in play, because of course once we blink a vehicle, it will forget about Greasefang's trigger and not have to go back to our hand. We can also use this just to get good ETB value. If we have a creature, say Violent Tumor, that comes out and puts a vehicle in our graveyard, we could ephemerate that for 1 mana and just get that effect again and actually get it again on the next turn as well. So we have Ephemerate, we have Teleportation Circle, and Conjurer's Closet, which basically do the same thing, except Teleportation Circle can hit artifacts that are not creatures, which is kind of nice for vehicles that haven't been crewed in a turn or something like that. And then we've got Charming Prince and Flicker Wisp. They can do similar things. Charming Prince has that modality, which is kind of nice. And then Kaya, Ghost Assassin, will blink and then again has modality and and versatility as a Planewalker with a bunch of different abilities. Alright, so the last kind of category I want to go through for non-lands or for non-ramp in the deck are these crewers. These are just creatures that we're going to get really good value from either tapping or untapping, such as Cynical Lunar here, which is one of the ones that's featured. Also King Makar, if he can crew something and then untap, he's going to be able to start exiling things from our opponent's board, and we'll get some gold, which is kind of functionally treasure. Glimmer Seeker can be really nice because if you can get her tapped, you're going to start just getting more creatures, getting more tokens. You know, we've kind of already gone through why that's good. Doomed Artisan is the same way. Even though his tokens can't attack or block, they can crew, they can be sacrificed to our sacrifice outlets and give us a lot of value that way. So yeah, just a lot of ways to keep an engine going, get value from our tokens, and have some versatility for how we're using our creatures. Giant Ox, obviously, and Hotshot Mechanic are both creatures that just far exceed their casting costs for how useful they are with vehicles. So we always want to see them on the field and have them crewing those vehicles that we blinked and that Greasefang is bringing into play as well. So let's look at our ramp package. A lot of these are going to be kind of familiar faces. Smothering Tide, I think, is especially good in this deck. I don't love to throw it in every white deck because it does slow down games, but in this deck, because we can use those tokens for card draw, because we can use them for other value, it's just really nice to have that treasure. We have Arcane Signet, Soul Ring. These are kind of standard ramp pieces, and they're obviously good in the deck. But we also have our Solemn Simulacrum, which we can sack to those sack outlets, get that card draw off of, but also ramp. And then we have 2 cards that I think are really neat and work just amazingly well with Greasefang in Priest of Yawgmoth and Soldevi Advait. So these are both cards that you're going to be able to tap and get an amount of black mana equal to a creature or artifact's casting cost or converted mana cost, and both of these work fantastically with Greasefang. If you can bring in a large vehicle with Greasefang's ability and then just sack that vehicle to one of these, then we're getting, you know, not only the continued value from Greasefang, but also that ramp and ability to kind of play out some more of our hand. Maybe we can use that black mana to get some of our card draw going, and that'll help us keep our engine in place as well. So that's an overview of the deck, guys. I did put a link down in the bottom left. You're going to see that to an Architect page that's got my deck lists. All the deck lists from anything on my channel will be there. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. If you liked the video and the content, give me a like. Give me a subscription, of course. That's always helpful. But appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video, and keep playing Commander.